What's going on, you guys? Sold my house, moved to Harlem. Okay. Haven't had any time to do videos this past week. All right, dealing with the move. Been painting and working on this place. I finally got all my stuff down here. Still have a lot of work to do, but I haven't had time to do videos. All right, I wanted to do a video before the Lucas Browne fight and Dillian White fight, but I just couldn't get around to it. If you haven't seen it already, I did a breakdown of Joshua and Parker a couple months back. That's still up. So if you want to hear my thoughts on that fight, check that out. I'll do an updated video sometime. I'll try to do an updated video sometime this week. Just haven't had time, man. But listen, leading up to that Dillian White and uh, Lucas Browne fight. Now I was watching the videos leading up to it and stuff, the weigh-ins and the press conferences and all that. And I noticed in the comments that there was a lot of people in there that was saying Lucas Browne was gonna knock him out and stuff. And listen, I know all about being wrong on predictions. It's all good. But the thing is, what's up with Dillian White? Like, he's not really favorited by a lot of people. Not even just Americans, but like even people out in the UK. I see a lot of fans out there that don't really like him like that. He's not really getting the credit I think he deserves. I mean, he's a pretty good fighter, He's a pretty good fighter. I know he's has a big mouth or whatever. He talks tough a lot. I don't know what it is about him, but I was really surprised going into this weekend that a lot of people thought Lucas Browne was going to win. And people were saying like that he was going to outbox Dillian White. Now, I know Dillian White is not the most crafty or polished boxer out there, but I was really, really surprised that people were thinking that Lucas Browne was going to outbox. I mean, this is stuff that I'm actually reading over and over again, you know, since the fight has been announced, and I didn't understand it, I mean, I went into the fight thinking that Lucas Browne had one shot to land a good right hand and maybe knock Dillian White out. That was the only way I saw him winning the fight, you know? And I mean, listen, I get it. I think personality has a lot to do with this fight. Lucas Browne is a really cool guy. He's a nice guy, you know? Uh, he's just a friendly guy. That's how he is. So I think a lot of people took a liking in him. I personally been following him for many, many years now because, I remember him on social media when he used to call out Deontay Wilder and stuff on Twitter. And, he used to be really cool with the fans. He used to talk and stuff with people on Twitter. So that's how I like figured out, like this is how I knew who he was. Okay. But when I watched this fight, I was like, okay, he beat James Toney, a little older version. I saw him beat Richard Towers. I mean, I've seen a lot of his fights. Never really was that impressed. You know, not really active, an older guy. I even see some of his what was he doing, kickboxing? I even watched some of those fights back then. But always thought he was really slow. Volume is as low as it could be. I mean, I think he punches less than any other heavyweight I've seen that's active right now. You know, extremely low volume puncher. He really takes it, like he really drags the rounds out, And I'm thinking going into this fight, you got a heavy volume puncher like Dillian White. Like I said, he's not the most polished. I understand he leaves himself open. He swings very, very wildly at times. I understand all that. But Dillian White, people talk about his Hellenius performance and I'm like, yeah, but Hellenius is a much better boxer than Lucas Browne, much better. And he's taller and he's longer and he knows how to use his length and his height, and it kind of made Dillian White look bad in that fight. But you gotta understand, this guy has also been in there with an Anthony Joshua and took a lot of blows from Anthony Joshua before he was knocked out, you know? He went to war with Derek Chisora, and lately he's been looking like a straight up brawler and everything, and I understand that. But I just, when I seen him get knocked out, I was not surprised. I thought it was brutal. I felt bad for him, because he's really a cool dude. But at the end of the day, what has he done to prepare himself for a fight like that leading up to this point? I mean, even some of his recent fights, he was fighting guys with losing records and shit. And this is a guy that fought for the WBA title a couple years ago. And let's talk about that fight. The fight against Ruslan Shagaev. That fight, look at Ruslan in that fight and look at Ruslan when he fought Klitschko. It's a total different guy. And on top of that, Ruslan was winning that fight. Clearly. Ruslan was easily outboxing him. So, I mean, I could go on and on about Lucas Browne. Nobody wants to get knocked out, see somebody get knocked out like that. To a point where you're laying down on your face and you're not even moving. He got dominated. He made Dillian Whyte look so good. And I like Dillian Whyte, but I think they're overhyping his performance. How do you know if he really got better? Like, people are saying, oh, that's his best performance. Not really. I think he performed better against Joshua. If you're being honest with me, he did better against a much better opponent, Anthony Joshua. When you're just winning against a fighter that you're much better and you're beating the crap out of a fighter that has no business being in the ring with you. Lucas Browne had no business having a WBA shot in the first place. And the fact that he failed 2 tests after that. Like, come on, people. Like, why was this such a... This was pretty much... I know not based on rankings, but this was really a tune-up fight for Dillian Whyte. It really was. And Dillian Whyte might have worked harder. He looked in great shape in the weigh-in. I saw the weigh-in. I was like, Dillian Whyte looks ready, He looked in great shape, But look at Lucas Browne. He was having some good sparring. He was fighting Chisora and Tyson Fury. And I'm like, okay, he's fighting all these people, but I'm sure he's not doing well in sparring against these guys. I know Tyson Fury was easily... I'm sure he didn't land one punch against Tyson Fury. He barely landed against Dillian Whyte. Dillian Whyte was looking smooth as hell fighting Lucas Browne, So, with all that being said, congratulations to Dillian Whyte. Lucas Browne, this guy was a guy that I saw, like, as soon as he got in the ring with a real fighter, it's over. We recently saw Amir Imam the weekend before. You guys know I went to the fight with Amir Imam and Jose Ramirez. And Amir Imam, since he lost, he was just fighting 3 bums. Look at the guys he fought. I watched those videos before going to that fight. I saw the guys he fought. They were real bad. They were, like, really bad. And now he's stepping up again to probably fight the second best fighter that he's ever fought. Because I think Adrian Granados is still better than Jose Ramirez. That's just my opinion, though. Right? But you go from fighting 3 bums that shouldn't be in the ring with you. Like, they were really bad. Really bad. And you go up and fight Jose Ramirez, and then you lose. It was a good fight, but, Jose Ramirez clearly won the fight. And Imam was in trouble. If that fight was a couple more rounds, Imam would have got knocked out or stopped. So I look at it in the same way. Like, Lucas Browne had it coming as soon as he stepped up. This is a fight that, you can't... He's not on anything. He's older. He's not active. He was recently, he was suspended before. He's like pushing 40 years old. And he's fighting a Dillian Whyte, a guy that's younger, been in wars with other better fighters. It's just, he had it coming at some point, man. He had it coming. I feel bad, but at the same time, I don't, because what has he done, you know, to get to this point? He hasn't done anything impressive. So, you know, I'm glad the guy's all right. Dillian White, I mean, he's a top fighter, you know. I mean, if Joshua and Wilder, and I'll talk more about that in a different video, but if they don't fight, I'm not mad if Wilder fights him. I think Wilder will beat him, but I'm not mad at the fight. White is a tough opponent for anybody. You know, he's a good fighter. You know, if he fights Brazil or whoever, it's cool. But I'm just really, I'm really making this video to say I'm really shocked that people thought that this was like a real fight. Like this was a big thing. You know, Lucas was never really that good. He was never in it. He beat guys when they were at their absolute worst. Guys with names when they were at their absolute worst. And he's even failed on drug tests before. I mean, come on, man. You know, there's other fighters that failed on drug tests. You know, Luis Ortiz, he failed. But people knew Luis Ortiz was legit. That was a hype fight. People know that was a legit fight. That was a real threat to Wilder. Lucas Browne has never, ever been that good. Never. All right? Anyway, let me get back to this work. I'll see you guys later.